Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host, and I have an awesome guest on the show today. This guy is a fairly new friend of mine. Eric Cornelius, welcome to the show. He was the first one on. Wow. And Robert Brooker. So we have some, I've had some amazing guests on the show, as you guys know. Today I have a guy that is a #1 best-selling author. He trains real estate people or agents, I believe, realtors around the entire country. He does coaching and helps people. What's up, Daniel Joseph? How you doing, man? So I want to welcome my new friend and buddy, Jim McCord, to the show. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Hey, my honor, man. So I know you're a busy guy, so I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be on here today. I created this show back in I think March or April of 2018, and I have interviewed about 145, I think. Celebrities and entrepreneurs and go-getters of every walk of life. And I created this to help people have a breakthrough, because we all, and you and I just talked a little bit about it, but we all get stuck in life and have a very difficult time getting unstuck in some cases. And that's what this is about, is helping other people. So as you know, by hearing somebody else's story, it can be quite empowering sometimes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's start with you, man. Let's talk about where you were born and raised.
I'm 61 years old, and I was born in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, and actually moved around a little bit, but always in the greater Cincinnati area. Fort Thomas is right across the river from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
And so I moved around, but always in greater Cincinnati area. And so this is my home. I love it here. I love to travel.
Okay. Like travel in a car or on airplanes or?
Well, you name it and I'll do it. When I was 20 years old, I bicycled from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, from the Atlantic, from Williamsburg, Virginia to Florence, Oregon. And then when I was 45, I ran from the West Coast to the East Coast. I ran from San Diego to Washington, D.C. for diabetes awareness.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I've driven across the country 7 times now, and I love travel. Foot, drive, fly, you name it, bicycle. Yeah, traveling fanatic.
I'm with you. We have that in common. I love it. I never bicycled across the country, however, so you got me there. But so you said you moved around a bit as a child?
No, as a child, we pretty much lived always in Fort Thomas.
Oh.
As an adult, it's funny. I was married 14 years, divorced 14 years, and now I'm back with that same wife the last 6.5 years. So, it's kind of a funny, unique story. But those 14 years that we were divorced, I moved 4 or 5 times, always in the area that wanted to stay close to the kids.
Yeah, yeah. So you went to school there and I assume graduated high school and all that down there?
Yeah. I went to Highlands High School and in Northern Kentucky University, and that's actually where I'm at now. They have an incredible recreation center that I belonged to for like 25 years, and I probably work out of this rec center more than I do my home or my office. I absolutely love it.
You're not like sitting in the locker room though, right?
No. I call it Jim McCord's office because I'm here all the time. It's this awesome room in the gym. It has comfortable chairs. It's got couches. And nobody ever uses it but me. So I call it Jim McCord's office. I love it.
Love it. So you went to college there, graduated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I graduated with a degree in business management in 1980.
Okay. And so where did that take you in life after you graduated?
Well, my father was always in sales, and I ended up landing a sales job with a small company in Cincinnati, and that lasted a couple years. and then I had heard about, I wanted to be a federal agent for whatever reason. I wanted to be a federal agent. So I researched that, and I found what looked like the easiest way to get in the safest position of all the federal agents was something called postal inspector. So I applied to the post office, and I got a job, and I carried mail for like 4 or 5 years until that position came open. Then I took the test, and I actually got approved and went through training, and I was in training, and our first son was born when I was in training up in Potomac, Maryland.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I missed the birth of my son, and in that position I would have moved quite a bit. So just kind of, looking at life, I decided maybe that position was not for me. So I got out of the Postal Inspection Service, no longer a federal agent, and I went into marketing for the post office. And people laugh at that, but the post office actually does have a marketing department.
Really?
Yeah, I did that for years and enjoyed it, but, it was typical post office, and I didn't like the constraints of that. So I took a couple other sales jobs for the next 4 or 5 years, and I always like sales. I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people. But real estate has always intrigued me, and I think that's true of a lot of people. A lot of people say, well, I thought about getting my real estate license, and I did too over the years. And I'll tell you the deciding factor that made me get into real estate, Ken.
Well, before we go there, I got to ask you though a question, because the federal agent thing, I like that, man.
Yeah.
Did you pack? Were you packing heat, showing up at the post office to inspect mail with a gun, or how did that? What was that like?
Well, it would have been. It's a federal agent position in the post office, and it's a long story. We don't want to talk about that too much, but I got out of that in the middle of training because I missed the birth of my first son.
Right.
And that really killed me. We have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, and the 2 girls were born first, and then Jimmy was born, and I was up there at training. And they told me that when my son was born, because obviously we knew when I left for 13 weeks training that we were going to have a baby.
Right.
And they told me before I left that I could fly back and be there for a few days. Well, Jimmy was born on a Saturday night. I missed it. I flew home on the first flight from Reagan on, I think it was a different name, but Washington, D.C. airport on a Sunday morning. And my instructor said I had to be back Monday morning for training. And I said, no. I said, I'll come back as soon as I bring my wife and our son home. And they said, no, Jim, if you're not back by Monday morning, you're out. So I thought about it long and hard on Sunday, and I just realized I don't want the post office controlling my life. So I got out of there and got into marketing, which I actually enjoyed in the Postal Service.
That's okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I've just never heard of I never thought, I don't know that anybody would think a federal agent postal inspector dude, that's like a federal agent position.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, it's a great position. It really is.
Wow. It's funny. Yesterday I was at the post office and I picked up the application for a passport. And because I've never had a passport, and I have people wanting me to travel with them to me out of the country now, and I'm like, I should probably get one of these then. And the woman explained the thing to me. I'm like, what the heck? This is I didn't realize what goes into getting a passport. It's crazy.
Yep.
So okay, so you got into marketing, and then you took some other sales jobs, and eventually you got really intrigued by real estate. That's where we were when I interrupted you. My apologies.
No problem. And the reason, what I was getting at, the reason I got into real estate, and I actually have it in my book, is because we worked with 3 realtors before we bought our first house. And we worked with 3 because the first 2, Amy and I didn't like. It seemed like they were just trying to sell us every house that we walked in. And instead of showing us a bunch of houses and letting us tell them what house. And the 3rd realtor was not much better. And I remembered that was years before, and I wasn't real happy in the sales position I was in, and I had decided I was going to make a career change and find another sales career. And I thought, if someone were to get into real estate and treat people the way they want to be treated, the way people should be treated, instead of just trying to sell them a house, they might do really good. So,
right.
yeah, that's why I got into real estate. And I have it in my book.
Wow.
And I don't say this to be mean. It's just true. I say in the book, 25, here I am 25 years later after dealing with thousands of realtors, not just 3 like I did before we bought a house, but
Yeah.
my opinion of the industry is lower now than it was before we got in. And I want to be careful there because I don't want to knock realtors. There's a whole lot of really good professional caring realtors. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But the problem with our industry is it's so easy to get in that almost anybody can get a real estate license, and that's a real problem. And I blame that on the brokers, truly, and it's pretty unanimous with almost all brokers. There are some small brokers that are selected, but for the most part, all the nationwide and all the regional and most of the local brokers will, if you are breathing and you pass the state test, you can be a realtor in our office.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. But I will say this, and I tell this to everybody I coach and to agents I recruit. I also recruit agents into Keller Williams. And my recruits I coach for free. So if you're thinking about getting into real estate, or if you're not happy where you're at, contact me.
Yeah.
But it's a phenomenal industry for that exact reason. Because if you get in and you do work 5 or 6 days a week, and you work, and I mean work 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day, and you treat people right, you will really take off, as opposed to getting a sales job in another industry where all the salespeople are professional. Because let's face it, a Fortune 500 company is not going to hire just anybody who walks in the door.
Right.
So when you're competing in the other industries in the sales world, you have real competition. We don't have much competition, so it's kind of a dream career. So don't think I'm knocking the career. It's a great career. It really is.
It's just, and I, it's like a lot of things, quite honestly. There's a very low barrier to entry, and yet to do it right, you gotta like have some sort of a budget. That's one of the things that I've which you and I talked before, and it's like, I've had a lot of realtors come to me for marketing help or a website or whatever over the years. And it's like, well, you can't have champagne dreams and little king's budget. Like you gotta invest in what you're trying to build. So, and again, I know a lot of them. I've got some really, really good friends that are realtors that are phenomenal.
Yep.
And I'm glad to hear you say realtor correctly. There's no vowel between the L and T.
And most realtors still to this day, not most, a lot of realtors still say realtor.
I know it.
It's
and
mind-boggling.
It makes me crazy.
It does. And it's part of the unprofessionalism of the industry. But the statistics from National Association of Realtors has been the same all 26 years now that I've been licensed, and I'm still licensed. I'm licensed in Ohio, and the statistics consistently have shown that within 2 or 3 years of getting licensed, 80% of those newly licensed realtors will be out of the business. 80%.
Yeah.
So that's 4 out of 5 don't make it.
Right.
And I think they think if they pass a test and they get licensed and they pick a broker, the broker's going to give them leads. Nope. No broker gives you leads. I've been with Remax Coldwell Banker. I'm with Keller Williams now. None of them, they might give you a couple leads.
Right.
But you're not going to make a living on leads they give you because they're not going to give you many. And all your friends and all your relatives and all your classmates are not going to call you. You actually have to work for business. And people don't realize that. And I tell you, it's not their fault. Who I blame that on is the brokers.
Yeah.
The brokers and the owners and the managers need to educate these people when they come in and they say, I'd like to be a realtor. They should be saying, look, we'd love to have you, but let me tell you what this career involves. It's work. And I mean, you really have to work if you're going to make it in this business. And most brokers, the great majority, just don't do that.
Well, and I think that, again, that's probably not I don't know that it's just the real estate world, right? But I do understand that there's a lot of realtors that, you think you get some signs printed up, you get some business cards, and okay, I've built it. Now they will come.
Exactly. It doesn't work that way. 80% of them find out. It's sad. It really is.
Yeah, and again, it's not cheap going through all the real estate training, and it's time consuming, and taking the tests and passing it. And I know a lot of realtors that have taken that test several times before they passed it too. So, I think that, but let me ask you this. Let's back up a little bit to where you got started as a realtor. Like, what qualifies you to, or what not, and maybe it's that plus, like, what's the benefit that a realtor is going to get by, working with you? What qualifies you to go there? Were you super successful as a realtor?
Yeah, I was. Now, off and on. You and I talked a little bit before, and
yeah,
life is like this.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes to admit that life is like that.
Yep. You're right.
But it is like that. And, if you look at statistics that you'll see on the internet or on Facebook, they say 20 to 25% of people go through depressions in their life. Yeah. I call BS on that, because I am convinced 100% of people go through depressions in their life.
Yeah.
And certainly some people go through true clinical depressions where they're bedridden and they can't do anything. That's a different situation.
Right.
But I'm no different than anybody else. I went through some pretty serious downs in my life, and I appreciate those. But my real estate career has been the same. I've been the top agent in my county numerous years. Quite often, I would say more than half the years of those 25 years, 26 now, I was the top agent in whichever office I was working in. But I had plenty of down years.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. I had plenty of down years.
Sure. So after spending 25 years as an agent, right, you decided to get into, well, you wrote a book, which, again, I'll put it back up on the screen. Jim's book is a #1 bestseller. It's called A Revolution in Real Estate Sales. And there it is. I have it up on the screen as well. And it's available on Amazon. It's a #1 bestseller, which is an unbelievable accomplishment. So let's talk about that. How long ago did you write that book?
I wrote the book about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And it's funny, to this day, I have my best friend, Ken. We met in the first grade. His name's Bob. My very best friend died this year, May 1st.
Oh, wow.
61 years old. Yeah, he had early dementia. And at the funeral, our other four other high school friends and I agreed to get together once a month. We have a lunch tomorrow. And I forget where I was going with that. What question did you ask me?
I don't remember. Yeah, I do that myself.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I just totally lost my train of thought. And at 61,
I'd asked about how long ago you wrote the book, and
okay, yeah. Where I was going with that was, it's funny because when I wrote that book, and when you say bestseller, it's not bestseller in like New York Times. It's bestseller in real estate, in the real estate category.
Right.
But my friends laugh at me. They said, McCord wrote a best-selling book. Are you kidding me? And it's funny because I would have thought the same thing, 5 or 6 or 10 years ago, because I would never have thought about it. Even though I had success, I was selling real estate pretty much the same way everybody else was.
Right.
And then 9.5 years ago, I started doing something different. I joined a company where you could send out custom greeting cards.
Yeah.
And I started using that as opposed to sending out the company information and company literature that I sent out to the previous 16 years. I started creating custom cards, and on the front of the card, I would put either that person's house or that person's family or their picture or their company. And it really worked for me. I mean, it really worked well. So I used that for about 6 or 7 years, and it was without question the best marketing I had done. And none of the major companies to this day have anything that can touch it. And like I said, I'm with the #1 company in the country, Keller Williams, and they don't have any marketing like this. So it was so phenomenal, I wanted to share it. And I started making some videos. If you just search Jim McCord on YouTube, you'll see I have over 100 videos. Well, the videos were getting a lot of views, a whole lot of views.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I got thousands of people looking at my videos, maybe I should write a book. And I even kind of laughed at that. And I thought, well, I'll write a book and I'll throw it on Amazon as an ebook. And if it sells, great, because you can do that at no cost.
Yeah, right.
Now, it took about 9 months to write the book. I sat down for an hour a day almost every night before I went to bed and wrote the book and revised it. Then I showed it to a bunch of realtors and revised it. So after 9 months, I had an ebook. And I threw it on Amazon, and within like 3 months, I made about $4,000, and I couldn't believe it. Well, that $4,000 was enough to go ahead and get the first printing of books. So I had them printed
Wow.
well, not hard copy, but it's soft copy. But
Yeah.
and those sold too. So those are on Amazon now. And the gist of my book and the reason that it sells, Ken, and I say that in the first couple chapters, and like if you don't want to buy it, you can go to Amazon and click on preview book or read book, I think it's called, and you can read the first 8 pages. This book is different than any other real estate book that you'll ever read, because all the other books, and I previewed hundreds of them, and I've read probably 40 or 50, they all teach the same thing, which is cold phone calling, door knocking, something called farming in our industry, where you pick 500 to 700 homes and you mail to them 4 or 5 times a year. And you call them and you remind them that you're the expert. And that's the way real estate's been done for all 25 years. Well, when I started using that custom greeting card company, it was so much better because people don't want cold phone calls. And they sure as hell don't want somebody knocking at their door. I don't, you don't, nobody does. So does it make sense that you're trying to do business with someone, and so the first thing you're going to do is irritate them? No.
Right.
Now, it does work because I did it for 16 years. You know, I paid the Mike Ferry organization. That was the coaching organization that I used 25 years ago, and it works. But you got to call, and those statistics are out there too. You can Google search them. If you're going to cold phone call people, you got to call about 100 people to get 2 or 3 leads. So what you're doing is you're irritating 97 or 98 people.
Right.
Really, to get 2 or 3 leads. And it's miserable.
It is.
And there's a couple things that go along with that. Number one, very few people are willing to make 100 cold phone calls a day.
Right.
I did, and it worked, and you get business that way.
Yeah.
Very, very few, so most of them won't do it. And then secondly, even if you will do it, do you really want to irritate 97 or 98 people to get 2 or 3 leads? So that's why, you know, using this system works so much better. Instead of doing that prospecting, I got a completely different method. It's in the book. And I say on some videos, if anybody ever buys this book, it's only $9.95 on Amazon. If anybody ever buys it and they feel like it was a waste of $10, just send it to me, call me up, send it to me, and I promise you I'll send you your $10 back. And I haven't had one. Nobody sent me my book back in 2.5 years. So I've sold over 15,000 copies.
Wow.
And it's kind of life-changing. You know, that's how I got into coaching. You know, I wrote this book and I started getting calls.
Yeah.
Even as an ebook, realtors around the country were calling, and I was giving all this advice, and I don't mind that. I love talking to people. I love talking to people, especially realtors.
Yeah.
And I thought I was watching a YouTube video as my oil was getting changed about 1.5 years ago. And Jordan Adler, who is a nationwide speaker, a motivational guy, great guy.
Yeah.
He had just put a new video up, and it was what's your tether? You know, what's holding you back? And it was a phenomenal thing. You know, something's holding each and every one of us back. And I thought, man, I really want to coach, but I don't know if I can do it. And then I watched that video, and at the end of that video, I thought, nope, I'm going to be a real estate coach. And literally I started, you know, doing it part-time while I was selling homes. And I really enjoy it. You know, I think after doing real estate or after doing anything for 25 years, you get kind of burnt out on it. And I absolutely love coaching realtors, new realtors or experienced. So it's been a life-changing experience, and it all started because I started doing something different than all the other realtors were doing.
And, you know, I want to point something out because I own a marketing firm, and I've done this for a long time. My wife was the global VP of marketing for a couple of ginormous companies, and you know, I've used the same custom greeting card company that you were talking about, and you know, So many people think marketing, as even Keller Williams today. You look at you can't hardly watch television in prime time and not see some real estate company, national company advertising, and they're spending millions and millions of dollars a year trying to get your attention. And I mean, I haven't read your book, and I'm not in real estate, but I have a pretty good, I have a good feeling the direction that it would go. I'm going to get a copy of it. But marketing has changed significantly, and what you're teaching, it sounds like you're teaching people attraction marketing.
Well, here's what I'll tell you, Ken. Don't buy a book. I'll send you one. And I'd like to make an offer. The first 25 people that send me a Facebook message with your name and your address, I'll mail 25 free books out to people who are watching this.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a completely different book. It really is. So I appreciate the opportunity for you to share it. And
yeah, that's awesome. So tell me, so you do real estate coaching, and do you get many realtors that are like brand new to the scene, or have they typically been beat up for a few years after you get them?
I get both.
Do you?
I like coaching the new ones better because they have not been infected.
Right.
True. Because it's true.
Right.
You were said marketing's all the same, and it is. And Remax, my company, Keller Williams, they have a company called Bold. All the companies still teach to this day cold phone calling, door knocking, farming, and then of course, the computer marketing now on Facebook. And, they do teach some of that. But when I get the more experienced agents, they don't quite get it as quickly as a new agent. So
right.
The ones that do get it really do get it, and I enjoy coaching the experienced agents. But the new ones, like I said, they haven't been infected yet, so they're easier to train.
And why don't you, if you don't mind, give some and again, here's what I think. I think that yes, there's a lot of realtors, and yes, you coach realtors exclusively, it sounds like. But there are, I don't care if you're selling real estate, residential, commercial, or and I saw my friend Pam Goodwin is on here. She's a commercial realtor down in the Dallas area, and she's written a couple of books, and she's phenomenal. I love Pam. Matter of fact, I went to Dallas and visited with her not long ago, but I think that no matter what is, if it's car sales, if it's you're selling home cleaning services or whatever, there are some ways, I'm sure, that you teach, knowing what I know about you, that aren't about having to make those cold calls. Those are they still work. I do them too, but I have a different methodology now, way different than it used to be. And that's a little bit of what you're talking about. So why don't you tell people, give some tips, some things that somebody that may be struggling right now in their sales career, or whether it's real estate or whatever, what are some things you would tell somebody that's struggling right now?
Okay. There's a couple things. Number one, you need to be different. There's between 1.5 and 2 million realtors in this country alone.
Jeez.
Whether you're in a small market, medium market, or large market, you have a lot of competition. And when you think they're all doing pretty much the same thing, if you do something completely different, and if it happens to be something that your prospects enjoy, it works. And that's what I coach. So let's say you and your wife are trying to sell your house, and you list it with the top agent or some agent in your market.
Right.
And it doesn't sell. It's been on the market 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever, and it expires. It expires. So the next day you start getting phone call, phone call, phone call. And if you're in a big market, you might get 40 or 50 phone calls for the next few days from all these realtors who want to meet with you. And
Wow.
you're going to start getting mailings in the mail. Well, what I started doing 9.5 years ago, I quit doing that. And what I did was I'd send them a custom greeting card. I drive by, take a picture of that house with my phone. Back then it was with my camera because our phones didn't take pictures, but
Right.
drive by, take a picture with your phone, go back home or to your office, get on a computer, or you can do it on your phone, send them a custom greeting card, photo of their home. When they open up the package, they're going to see a greeting card.
Uh-oh.
Your listing is expired. And then on the inside of the card is going to be a short message saying your listing is expired. Are you still interested in selling? Something to that effect. And then I'm completely different than any other realtor you ever met. So that's really different in itself. They open up a package, they see a card with a photo of their house. All the other agents are mailing these really nice 4-color brochures with pictures of Coldwell Banker and Remax and Keller Williams and everything else. And then they get this package, and along with that package, with that card, I always sent like 2 brownies or
Yep.
4 brownies or 2 dozen cookies. And it's just crazy how well it works. So the key is to be different. And that's one tip that I would give. And that same tip works with a for sale by owner. If you guys had your house for sale by owner and you tried selling it, you're getting all this garbage. I call it garbage. I did that garbage for 16 years, so I'm not knocking it. But when they get something that's about them and not about the realtor, it really works.
Yes.
And the other tip I would give, the one book that changed my real estate career more than anything else, and I mention it in my book and I mention it in a lot of my videos, but it's not a real estate book. So no matter who's on this webcast, whatever, no matter what business you're in, you need this book. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's phenomenal. Now, Gary Keller's the founder and the owner of Keller Williams, but
Yeah.
this book has nothing to do with real estate. But what it teaches you is if each day you'll pick one thing and focus on one thing a day and get that one thing done before noon, your life will change. And that works in real estate. It works in car sales, insurance sales. It works in trying to lose weight. It works in trying to give up tobacco or alcohol or drugs. But if you'll focus on one thing a day, and so what I use that book for with my coaching clients is I say, make your focus 1 or 2 expired listings a day every day. And when you do that, because most agents go in the office, they sit around, they drink coffee, they hope the phone rings, they hope one of their relatives calls, or they hope their broker's going to give them a lead, and it doesn't happen. So they think they're working. They sit in the office. Yeah, they think they're, and then they go out to lunch with all the realtors. You know, they talk about business, but they're not doing any business because the realtors are actually doing business, aren't in the office. They're out working. So if you want to be one of those realtors who's making money, all you need to do is focus. Do one thing, prospect 1 expired listing or 1 for sale by owner a day, every day, 5 days a week. Take about an hour a day, and within 2 or 3 months, you'll be a busy realtor. And it sounds simple, but that's pretty much it. And the key is you do that package and you send it to them, but you have to do follow up. Now, some people are going to call you because that's pretty impressive, but most of them still aren't going to call you. The key in any sales is the follow-up. And when I say follow-up, I don't mean phone call.
Right.
That's one of, I teach 6 methods of follow-up. Phone call is one of them. Every other realtor, even the top realtors, are only phone calling and mailing. That's all they're doing. And we know that people don't like that. So when you use all 6 methods of follow-up, and when you finally do get a hold of them on one of those 6 methods, they remember you. And it happens almost every time. They say, Jim, you're the guy that sent that really cool package, because it wasn't just an envelope, it's a box.
Right.
And it had cookies or brownies, and it has a custom greeting card with a photo of their home on it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, the one thing is a phenomenal book, not a real estate book. I promise you guys will love it. $17.95 on Amazon, Gary Keller.
Yeah, I think I have it actually on Kindle, I believe. But and I'm not sure that I read it. It was one of those things where somebody said, you need this book, and I got it, and my Kindle's filled with books like that. But
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about that. I didn't buy that book either. I went to Keller Williams 5.5 years ago, because I started doing in Kentucky. My first 21 years, I didn't list one home over $1 million. Not one. Didn't list or sell one home. And because this system that I started using back in '09 worked so well, I thought, I should try this on high-end homes. I never did. And I thought, I'm going to try it. So I tried it. And within 2 months, I listed 4 homes in northern Kentucky over $1 million. And it really worked well. Now, our market, we only average 5 sales a year in the Northern Kentucky MLS. 5 sales. So that just wasn't there. But right across the river, I told you I live like a mile and a half from Cincinnati. The Cincinnati MLS averages over 120 sales over $1 million a year. Jeez. So I got licensed in Ohio. And when I did the research, I found out that 9 of the top 10 luxury home salespeople were women. The first 9 were women, and number 10 was a guy. Yeah. So I thought, well, all these wealthy people are used to dealing with women. I should probably get a female partner. And I looked around, and I finally decided to meet with a lady named Michelle Mamo. And she's this awesome agent. And I met with her, and I showed her how I got these 4 listings. And I said, I'm getting licensed in Ohio. I'm looking for a partner. So she loved the system, and we agreed to be partners only on luxury homes, not on everything. And she happened to be at Keller Williams. So I needed to go to Keller Williams if I was going to work with her. That's why I went. Wow. So I signed up at Keller Williams, and that first day she gave me that book, the one thing. Because Gary Keller wrote it, and I guess a lot of agents give it to agents they recruit, and she recruited me, so she gave me the book. I took it home. I laid on my hammock, and I am 100% sure, Ken, it's the only book I ever read cover to cover in my life. I'm not an avid reader.
Wow.
But here I am, the previous 2 months I listed 4 homes over $1 million, and I wanted to focus on $1 million homes, and Michelle gives me this book that teaches me not only why to focus, but how to focus. Wow. So while I'm laying on my hammock in the backyard reading that book, it took about 3.5 hours. I decided, I made my plan up right there. I was going to prospect 2 expired listings in Cincinnati, in Ohio, not Kentucky, because we don't have any. 2 expired listings a day, 5 days a week for 2 months, and just see what happened. And it worked. I mean, it was phenomenal. And the reason it worked is because I made that decision to focus, and then I followed through and actually prospected 2 expired listings a day. And over the next 4.5 years, I listed dozens and dozens and sold most of them homes over $1 million. And it's real simple. It's using a different system and actually getting out there and prospecting. So wow. That's kind of the gist of the whole book. So yeah, you mentioned not reading it. Most of the books that I have at home in my library, I haven't read either. And I know that's the only book in my life I ever read cover to cover.
Well, my thing is I it's just been a huge shift for me. I've read, I don't know how many books, a lot of books. Because I didn't graduate high school, didn't go to college, and I realized that I needed to become self-educated. So and early on in life, but Kindle has been huge for me. Like I read on the go all the time, that or audiobooks. So I love Kindle, and I'm pretty sure I have that book on Kindle, but. So you've given out some amazing advice. I tell people all the time that I work with that are clients of mine, whether I'm doing consulting or coaching or we're working on projects, like your marketing message cannot be about you. I'm sorry. I know that bursts your bubble, but if you make it about you, that makes you like everybody else. If you make your marketing message about the customer, your potential client, you make your marketing about them, you're going to have a different level of success. And by the way, the people playing basketball in the background are making me want to play basketball right now. I'm just going to say it. So I know I saw somebody out there shooting hoops. I'm like, but am I right? I mean, do you agree with that?
Oh, that's the gist of the whole book. Everybody else is doing it one way, and we know that this, and constant mailings of stuff about the realtor and their company, we know that irritates people. So yeah,
Yes.
you're exactly right, and that's what changed my world, Ken. When I started making my marketing message about my prospect, it's really phenomenal,
It's
and it
about,
works.
yes, it does, man. I totally agree. Somebody just said on Facebook Live, did I miss the 6 follow-up steps he uses? If you just joined, you may have. He
You know
does.
what?
You didn't go through all 6 of them. You named a couple of things, but it's in your book, right?
Some of it is, but I tell you, I have no problem sharing it. I grew up. My father was in sales, and he was a big Zig Ziglar guy. Zig Ziglar was his man.
Yep.
So you remember 8 tracks and cassettes. When
Yep.
I was a kid, I remember my dad would put 8 tracks and cassettes in. I remember hearing this man talking, and Zig Ziglar says if you can get whatever you want in life by helping enough other people get what they want in life. Now, so the methods that I coach are, number one, drop letter, something called a drop letter, whereas you prepare, you're not dropping off. This isn't the card. A drop letter is something you type up. It says like your listing is expired. Are you still interested in selling? And then some messages within that drop letter. I'm different than every other agent. Maybe your photos were really bad. Previous agent used bad photos, and I'd love to meet with you. Put that drop letter with the expired MLS sheet in an envelope. Now, don't put it in a Keller Williams envelope or a Remax envelope or a Coldwell Banker envelope, because if it's somebody like Jim McCord, and we know that most people are like me, they don't really trust realtors. If they come home and they see an envelope from a real estate company at their door, they're probably going to throw it right in the garbage. So
Yep.
I go to Walmart or Staples and I buy 9 by 12 envelopes,
Yep.
white bubble wrap envelopes, craft envelopes, and I stick that drop letter, the MLS sheet, in my business card. And the drop letter's on top, then the MLS sheet, then the business card.
Yep.
Paper clip or butterfly clamp those, slip them in there, and I put their name on there, write their name, and I write confidential in quotes.
Yep.
And I don't knock at the door because they don't want people knocking at their door. I leave it at their door.
Yeah.
Now, if it's one where they have a mailbox, I'll leave it in their mailbox.
Right.
And yeah, I know that's illegal, but I and other agents have been doing stuff like that for 25 years.
Right.
So you got drop letters, you got the custom greeting card in a gift, which is phenomenal. You have phone calls. You do have door knocks. You do knock at the door, but you don't do that up front. You do that after you've done the other methods. And the other 2 methods of follow-up I teach, nobody uses, at least in real estate, except my clients. And it really works is I connect with these prospects. If your listing expired last night and I'm going after your listing, I'm going to go to the PVA or the tax site, and I'm going to find out who owns that house, because it usually isn't, and I'm going to get your names. Then I'm going to research you on Google, find out everything I can about you. I'm going to see if I can find you on Facebook. If I find you on Facebook, I'm going to send you a Facebook message, because very few people block that aspect.
Right.
So even if I'm not connected with you, I can still send you a message. Mm-hmm. And I'm also going to search for you on LinkedIn. And if you're on LinkedIn, I'm going to send you a message too. So those are the 6 methods. I have no problem sharing them. And I use a variety. I use all of those methods.
Yeah.
Not just 1 or 2.
And you do the custom greeting cards and the customized. Now we have the ability with this new company that we're both involved in, to do customized gifts. Like it's insane what you can do. So let me ask you this, because I can't even believe this. This has flown by. We're coming up on, we got about 10-15 minutes left, but and I always ask people this, if what do you think? Because you know the answers, I know the answers. Not always, obviously. We all hit those moments where we're like, wow, how do I deal with this? But you have the ability to push all the fear to the side and go for it anyway, no matter what, right? What is it that you think? The most common answer is fear. And if you didn't see me interview my good friend Sherry Ame the other day, she had a near-death experience. She died for 90 minutes, and she talks about, she knows what happens on the other side, and she talks about the transformation that occurred when she came back from the dead, literally. So I said to her, the number one answer is fear. Just so you know, I'm gonna preface it with that. But what do you think stops most people from going forward, if whether they're a current realtor, or they're thinking about becoming a realtor, or they're in car sales and their sales numbers just are horrible, or whatever it is, what is it that you think stops most people in their tracks, keeps them stuck?
I think it's two things. I think obviously it's fear, but mainly that fear. I mean, some people even fear success, but I think that the fear that they have is fear of rejection. None of us like rejection. Nobody likes rejection. It's kind of like back when we used to date. The worst thing in the world was to ask a girl out and she rejected you. I mean, it was horrible. Then it's like, oh my God, I'm not going to do this again.
I don't know what that's like, but
yeah, I'm sure you know. but I'm sure that some people have so much fear. I don't know any, but I'm sure there are people out there, probably a lot of them, who did do that as a teenager, as a young adult, and never again ask somebody out because that fear hurts us so much.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in sales. I mean, you just have the top agents in your market get rejection. Yeah. Everybody gets rejection. So I think that's number one, like you said, fear, and it's fear of rejection mainly. Yeah. And then secondly, I think it's lack of knowledge, because the knowledge that I know most real estate agents are getting is all the same. And is it bad? No, I'm not going to say it's bad, because it does work, but I will say it's not good knowledge. So most realtors don't know how to market themselves in a good way. So it's fear and just lack of knowledge. That's my opinion.
So where do they get the proper knowledge?
Well, you got to search it out. We live in this world where there's this thing called Google, and I don't care if you want to fix your washing machine, and there's this thing called YouTube. I mean, you can find out anything you want in the world today. Yep. Good stuff, bad stuff, anything. And now you also have to be careful with that, because there's so much information out there. Just because it's out there doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
But, you have to be a little bit discerning. And if you do the research, and if you think about it, we'll go back to real estate. If you look at statistics, and 80% of the agents are out of the business within 2 or 3 years, well, being a discerning person, that tells me I don't want to do what those 80% of the agents did. I want to do something different. So the information's out there no matter what you're looking for. It's kind of like losing weight, or, running a marathon, or, switching careers. I mean, you can do all the research you want, and if you're good at it, the information's out there and you'll find it.
So, we talked a little bit about this. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and for 16 and a half years now, and pretty much as far back as I can remember prior to that, I loved the effect that alcohol had on me, right? So I made a lot of dumb errors, right? And along the way, I had the electric shut off. I couldn't keep a job. I lost businesses and relationships and everything. And for the person that would call you up, and I ask this question of every guest, for the person that would call you and say, Jim, I'm lost. My electric's getting shut off tomorrow. My car was repossessed last week. I've had that happen too. My wife is leaving me. My dog died. Everything is falling apart. I don't know what to do. I can't feed my kids. I'm stuck. Help. Please help me. What would you say to that person to help them get, because it starts right there, right? What would you say to that person to help them make the shift?
Well, Ken, because you and I have talked a few times before this, and I'm also a recovering alcoholic. I celebrated 15 years November 19th. November 19th, 2003, I woke up in a jail cell. And I had been in a jail cell before because of drinking for DUIs and public intoxications a couple other times. And then it was a true jail cell where I was in a drunk tank with other drunks, and that's where I belonged. Yeah. But I didn't learn my lesson. So this time when I woke up, November 19th, 2003, I was in the room, and I didn't know it was a jail. I was the only one in the room, and it was a pretty clean room. There was a decent bed there. There was a toilet and a sink, but, that's all. And I thought, I knew my life had been in the toilet for years, a few years.
Yeah.
And I thought, I didn't know where I was because it was blackout drinking the last day.
Yeah.
I didn't remember anything. And I thought, well, maybe my girlfriend at the time or my kids or some of my friends put me in, an institution. Maybe I'm in a psych unit. So I pounded on the door, and the guy goes, "What do you want?" And I said, "Could you tell me where I'm at?" He goes, "You're in jail." I said, I said, "This don't look like a jail." He said, "It's a jail, buddy." Yeah. So I said, "What jail is it?" He said, "It's Bullitt County." And I said, "Where the hell is Bullitt County?" He said, "It's about 30 miles south of Louisville." And I said, "Well, what am I in jail for?" Because it was blackout drinking, as you know, and didn't remember anything. And he said, "Well, you're lucky, I guess." He said, "All you got was public intoxication." He said, "You got a $170 fine." He says, "You get out at 5 a.m. And I was like, phew, thank God I didn't have an accident because I could have killed somebody. I had driven.
Yeah.
And I was relieved to find out it was only public intoxication. I asked him what time it was. He said it was 1 a.m, and he had told me I was going to be released at 5 a.m. Wow. I asked him what time I got in. He said 7 p.m., which I didn't remember.
Oh, Lord. Wow.
Yeah, so I had 4 hours to lay there and think.
Wow.
And, some blackouts you don't remember anything. Some blackouts eventually comes back to you. Well, this blackout, laying there in that jail cell, I started to remember things. And I actually remembered, Ken, that I had written a suicide note.
Mm.
And I remember that I went into a grocery store and I made 8 copies of that note. And I bought envelopes and I mailed them.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was in a lot of debt at the time, and it was mainly over debt, and that is what I blamed the drinking on too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so anyway, but I have 4, and I truly mean, I know all our kids are awesome, but Amy and I have 4 just incredible kids, and I laid there and I thought, oh my God, not only did I almost take my life, but I almost not destroyed, but severely hurt my kids. Thank God I didn't do that. Now, how can I make sure I never get to that point again and write another suicide note?
Right.
And, I talked earlier, and you agree, life's like this, and life's like that for everybody. And I realize that I'm going to get depressed again. Depression's in my family.
Yeah.
And I think depression's in most families, and I knew I'd get depressed again, but if I'm never drinking when I'm depressed, suicide's never going to be an option. So I just realized in that jail cell, I can't drink again. I'm an alcoholic. You don't have as many blackouts as I had over the years and drive drunk as much as I did and end up in jail 3 times. I've been in jail 3 times, including that one, without alcohol being a problem. And I realized that if I gave up alcohol, I would, and it has worked for me. You know how life is. It's like that. And I've had some low times since November 19th, 2003, but I will never consider suicide again.
Right.
And so I'm scared to death of alcohol because, I will never drink. And I love it. You got a year more sober than me, and that's no guarantee we won't.
Right.
But I have such a fear of alcohol that I can honestly say I know I won't drink again.
Yeah.
But I will say one more thing, and I know you'll agree. Most people don't. Some people say, McCord, why would you share stories like that? Being that low in your life is, I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
But it is the best place in the world to have been. It's the worst place to be, but once you've been there and you recover, you have a feeling for life and an appreciation that you never had before.
Yep.
And life is just joyous again. Now, is it joyous every second? Of course not. But you have a completely different aspect of the whole world in your life. Exactly. So it's a blessing to have been there, and I don't mind sharing it. I enjoy sharing it.
Hey, man, you can use rock bottom is actually a. I always believe the elevator can go lower than the bottom floor. Like, I've been into the depths of hell with it, so I understand. And a lot of people don't. But transparency about it and being real about it is, to me, is hey, that's what it's all about for me. And I know people that, are I call them arrogantly sober,
some of the ex-smokers,
right.
Yeah, I mean, they hate cigarette smoke worse than the non-smokers do.
Yeah. But I'm friends with Grant Cardone, and that dude's worth a couple $100 million at least, and he talks about it openly. He was in a drug and alcohol treatment facility at 25 years old, and so like again, and alcohol, the ironic part is alcohol is a depressant. and I can remember like thinking, well, if I just drink enough, I won't feel so bad about my life. And it's actually going the opposite way. So, but listen, man, I'm so grateful that you took the time to come on the show. You're amazing. How can everybody watching this right now, how can they follow you?
YouTube, just search Jim McCord and subscribe to my channel. If you're a realtor, you'll love some of the training videos I have on there. I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. I'm pretty full on my Facebook group. But what I would say is if you're a realtor, there's another group called Nationwide Realtor Forum. Connect with me on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And please, if anybody wants my book free, I'll cover the postage too. I'll send 25 out if you send me a Facebook message, which you can do even if we're not connected. And if you don't mind, Ken, I would love to throw in, because, we have life-changing moments in our life and in our business.
Yeah.
5 weeks ago, I was introduced to a company that I know you were introduced. I don't know if you were introduced a little before or a little after, but we both have this mutual friend who we both love. I call him Uncle DeMar.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite people I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And he's the one who introduced me to banner season. I believe he's the one who introduced you. But banner season, no matter what business you're in, or even if you're in no business, if you're retired and you just like to make people happy.
Yeah.
Bannerseason.com.
Yeah.
Check it out. You can send customized gifts, not only customized cards, but it's totally changing. I had to rewrite my book. Now my book's still good, but instead of using that old card company, now I use this company. And instead of sending brownies and cookies, imagine you and your wife's house is expired and you get all these packages. You would appreciate the card and the brownies, but you would eat them and that's it. Now what I send and what I coach clients to send is a coffee mug. And if we were at my home, I'd show you some, but a coffee mug, and I'd put a picture of your house on that mug.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they got so many gifts. It's truly changed my business and it's changed my life. So bannerseason.com if you know somebody. If not, I know Ken's a member. Check in with Ken and he can fix you up.
Yeah, you can go with either one of us. If you're a friend of mine already and you go with Jim, I'm going to unfriend you. Matter of fact, I'll probably even block you. I'm just kidding. I love Banner Season, and I built DeMar's website or blog. My wife did, and so I've kind of known about this was coming for months and months, but it's phenomenal. I heard about it and all the pre stuff and oh my gosh, it is so unbelievable. It really is. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So anyway,
if I can get one more thing out there, Ken.
Yeah.
And I know you won't mind. I didn't ask you if I could, but I don't think you'll mind.
Go for it, man. I don't care what. Talk about anything.
I don't put it on Facebook except on my anniversary date I do, and once during the summer. But every time I do, I get 2 or 3 people that connect with me. So if there's any of you out there that are addicted to drugs or alcohol, please message Ken or me, because we've been there.
Yep.
And we love talking to people. There is a better life out there.
Way.
And, there's millions of us that have recovered. But don't live in that shell. Contact Ken, me, or anybody else. But we've been through it, so don't continue living like that. There's a better life out there, and you'll love it.
And I'm telling you, man, I honestly never thought that it was going to happen for me. I remember hearing that denial is not a river in Egypt. Right. I mean, I was so much in denial. Everybody for years told me, dude, if you would just control your drinking, man, you get out of control, just ease up, man, chill. You've got so much potential. I heard that so many times, dude. And I thought, I got this. You're out. Like tell me I have a drinking problem. I'm cutting you out of my life, man. I'm sure you did the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
we're all pretty much the same that do that stuff. So, but man, I love that you threw that out there. I talk about it, and a lot of people have reached out to me, as I'm sure they have you, and I love helping people through that. And again, there's those that you know, they don't get it, unfortunately. So,
Right.
but Jim, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you coming on, taking the time to be on the show. You're an awesome dude. If you're a real estate agent, or you're thinking about becoming a realtor, make sure you say the word properly. It's realtor. You're not a realtor. There's no vowel between the L and the T. Just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, I have realtors that say realtor, and I'm like, ugh. Anyway, so I genuinely appreciate you. I think you're a freaking rock star. Everybody make sure you go follow Jim on all social media platforms. If you want a free copy of his book, he's offering it to the first 25 people that send him a message. Don't send me a message. Send Jim a message, and he will send you a free copy of his book. And I have a feeling that it could change your life. So, yeah. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for having me on, Ken. I can't wait to get together. We live about 90 miles apart, so we're going to get together sometime in January or February.
I mean, we could literally just meet for lunch today. Like, you know, it's like,
Right.
hey, dude, what are you doing here in an hour and a half?
You drive south, I'll drive north, and we'll meet
meet
somewhere.
halfway. Right. So listen, thank you so much. I appreciate. There's been a lot of people that shared this out too. So thank you guys so much. Thank you all for watching this, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Jim, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. You guys have a great day.